In the 1980s, the LA Clippers, after years of injuries and disappointment, traded Bill Walton to the Boston Celtics, where out of nowhere, he became Sixth Man of the Year and he won a championship. In more recent history, the Cavs decided to trade Dion Waiters to the Thunder for J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert. Now in Miami, Dion is better than both of them combined. The Sacramento Kings decided to let Isaiah Thomas go to get Darren Collison. Now on the Celtics, Isaiah nearly averaged 30 points a game, and he led the Celtics to the first seed in the East. Lots of NBA players have been unfairly given up on. And there's three guys recently that have been mistreated by their teams and their fans. First on the list, Alfred Pagan from the Orlando Magic. Pagan is a victim of the rapidly changing NBA, where if you're a 1 through 4 who can't shoot, you're essentially thrown out the door. But that's not fair at all. A player isn't automatically bad because they can't shoot. Alfred is good or great at every other aspect of basketball. His defense is the thing that stands out the most. In a league where offense is what sells tickets, great defensive players don't really get the praise that they really deserve. If you don't believe me, why do we think of Damian Lillard as a star and Tony Allen as a role player? Offense is considered to be way more important than defense, so Peyton's defense gets underappreciated. Another aspect of Peyton's game is his playmaking. Alfred averaged 6.5 assists per game, and that goes up to 7.9 assists when it's on a per 36 stat, which for a 22-year-old player is very solid, and for a player on a team as bad as the Magic, it's really impressive. Seriously. No one in Orlando has any idea what they're doing. So Peyton and anyone being decent in that climate is something you gotta point out. And for his own offense, Peyton averaged 12.8 points per game. Most of his points come from the paint, and he shot 61% at the basket, which for a point guard is really impressive, and he shoots roughly 40% from mid, so even though his three-pointer is broken, he's still got that going for him. And here's where I contradict myself. I think Peyton in his career will be a high-value bench point guard. I like Peyton, but even though I said not having a 3 doesn't make him bad, it is enough that he probably won't be a starter, because I don't see him becoming a star, and if you're not a star or a center, not being able to shoot is pretty unacceptable in an NBA starting lineup. Number 2, Ben McLemore. Previously from the Kings, he just signed with the Grizzlies. McLemore is a very athletic shooting guard who can also shoot a little bit. Now, the only reason I think that McLemore has underperformed so far in his career is the Sacramento Kings being a stupidly inconsistent and stupidly bad franchise. McLemore has the skill set to be a perfect role player at the 2. He can shoot, he can run the break and catch lobs, his ball handling is pretty solid, and he has the athleticism and the frame to be a good defender as well. I was really rooting for my Bulls to sign McLemore this offseason because he's still got potential. So Memphis fans, just know that you've got a guy with potential. The Kings really screwed him up, man. And finally, number 1, Derrick Rose. Now, I've been in a weird situation with Derrick Rose for my entire time as a Bulls fan. I became a Bulls fan in 2013 in the middle of a playoff series versus the Brooklyn Nets. The Bulls beat the Nets in 7, then got killed by the Heat. But it was okay to me because I kept hearing about this MVP point guard who would be coming back next season and would make the Bulls great. Then he did come back and he got injured in 10 games. I never really got to see prime Rose, and it would have been easy for me to dislike Rose, but I don't. Now, I wouldn't call myself a big fan of his, but I really think Rose gets an unfair amount of disrespect. First of all, the injury jokes are just old and overplayed. For one, it's not like he has any control of that, so really you're just making fun of a guy for going through hell. And second of all, Rose only missed about 30 games in the last 2 seasons, so it's not like he's only playing 2 games and then falling apart. For the criticisms of his game, of course I'll just repeat the same thing that I said for Peyton. Being a bad 3-point shooter doesn't necessarily make you a bad player, and even though his playmaking isn't great, that's never been his calling card. And Rose averaged 18 points per game this season. I don't know how a guy who puts up 18 a game isn't good enough to get more than $2 million a year. Trade Kyrie or not, I imagine the Cavs will be getting back a better point guard than Rose, so Rose will be an amazing 6-man. perhaps even 6th man of the year. People are saying Rose was a bad signing for the Cavs when they got a guy averaging 18 a game for $2 million. It's actually ridiculous the hate that Rose gets. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.
I dare you play your cards, boy, you bet I'm a trendsetter too. Fire when the strobe hits you.
That's it, Brian? Yes.